Welcome to Tech Talks, hosted by Vision Loss Alliance of New Jersey. We are excited to have with us this evening, Matt Vollbrecht, the tech juggernaut. Tonight's topic, a day in the connected digital life. Matt will share a walkthrough of how he uses technology as part of everything he and his family do throughout the day. So it covers a bit about productivity, entertainment, smart home features, and more. Matt will cover a variety of topics from cord cutting and watching TV on our devices, home automation, Apple Maps, iBooks, and Apple Pay, to things like grocery shopping, outdoor activities, writing, and more, all with our devices. Before we move on to this evening's presentation, let's review our Tech Talk format for this evening. In this presentation, Matt will cue you when he is ready for questions, and at that time, we ask you to use the raise your hand feature. Let's review the raise your hand feature. For those of you who dialed in, it is *9 to raise your hand. *6 will mute and unmute you, giving you the opportunity to ask your question. If you're on a computer, Alt-Y to raise your hand, Alt-A is the mute and unmute command. Using the Zoom app on the iPad, top right, select the More option on the top of the screen and flick down to raise hand. On the iPhone, this feature is located at the bottom of the screen on the right side. Now on to our presentation. We would like to welcome Matt Vollbrecht from the Tech Juggernaut.
Thank you so much, Elsa. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this evening what I consider a very exciting topic. I really love this presentation because it allows us to explore the way that technology can truly be a part of everything we do. So welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have all of you. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to join us this evening. And we promise we will allow time for questions. We appreciate everybody staying muted for now. Again, thank you, Elsa. I'm looking at the poll results right now. And it looks like about 64% of you want to talk about the smart home. Accessible TV 45%. So that's pretty good. Those are two of my favorite topics to talk about. iBooks or Apple Books now, 18% if you want to know about that. Apple Maps, 45%. And grocery shopping apps, there's a decent amount of you that want to talk about that too, at 45%. So we're very, very excited because we're going to talk about all of that. Okay, so first of all, once again, I am Matt Vollbrecht of TTJ Tech Services, or the Tech Juggernaut. And we'll share contact info later on to make sure that if you have any questions that we're not able to answer this evening, you know how to get a hold of us. I'd like to do, as Elsa already stated, a day in the connected digital life. Now, I like to define the connected digital life as a lifestyle in which all of your important information, all of your documents that you're working on, all your photos, your music and movies, your TV shows, all of your stuff is with you wherever you go on all of your devices. At home,
I don't know.
On the road, even at work, wherever you might be. And I think we've got someone unmuted, my friends. If you could please make sure that you are muted. We're getting a bit of background noise there, and that may distract those who are trying to listen. So I do apologize. Don't want to be a dictator here, but we want to make sure everybody has a chance to benefit from this. So thank you for taking care of that promptly. I appreciate it. So that's how I like to define the connected digital life. And for me and for my family, that all begins with our Apple devices. You know, Apple products truly change and even revolutionize the way that we work, play, communicate, design, express ourselves, all of these things. And of course, for those of us who are blind or visually impaired, a key part of that is the voiceover screen reader. So everything we do is accessible with voiceover. And many of you are already voiceover users, I know. And so you're familiar with that. But what we want to focus on is the kinds of things we can do with these devices in everyday life, the way that we can use them, because I always feel like we get focused on the technology. You know, how do I learn to do this or that on the device? And that's great. But at some point, for it to truly be a success, we have to go from that to a place of, okay, now the technology gets out of the way and it just works and it's part of everything we do. And that's how it is for us. We've purchased a number of smart home accessories to create a truly automated smart home. We've cut the cord, as it were. Of course, that term is debated and what it means, but by that, what I mean is we've ditched the traditional TV service. So in favor of an Apple TV set-top box with some TV streaming services. And we use all of these other things that we saw in the poll: Apple Maps, Apple Books, all of these different types of things together. So let's just go through a typical day, right? And we'll bounce around here a little bit because some things relate to other things, but starts out right in the morning. Now depending on the day of the week, it might be that we have work and school. My wife and my kids leave for work and school, and I'm still at home. And maybe I want to know whether or not they've actually remembered to close the garage door or to lock the front door. And basically, I can do that with my smart home. I have got a smart lock and I've got a smart garage door opener. And I can simply ask Siri, and I can ask some of the other smart assistants too. So in my home, we actually have Siri, we have Google, and we have, the one who starts with A, right? I don't want to say it because we'll trigger a bunch of people's devices, but I can, use them for different purposes. So I have home pods in our home, which is Apple's smart speaker, and I can ask them whether my garage door is open or closed. And I can try to demonstrate that for you right now. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not home right now. But it still should work just fine, providing that all of the signal is working the way that it should. I'm going to grab a device here and I'm going to say, is the garage door open? Oops, let's do it again. Is the garage door open?
Your main garage door is closed.
And there you go. You could hear that for yourself. And I can do the same thing by asking if the front door is locked. I can, check in on all kinds of devices. We'll talk about more of them as we go. So that is a great thing that I offer right away in the morning. Another thing that we use frequently in the morning is our coffee maker. And for that, we actually use a smart plug. A smart plug is a very, very important smart home device. And I personally, one of my favorites, one that typically is the point of entry for my customers. Most of them, that's where they start to dip their toe into the world of home automation because they're inexpensive. They're DIY. You don't need an electrician. You don't need anybody to install it for you. The only caveat is you got to have a very basic device that you plug into that smart plug. And so what we decided to do was to get a very basic coffee maker, probably about $20 at most local stores, and we can plug in the coffee maker to the smart plug. And now what I can do is I can ask Siri if the coffee maker is on, or when my wife gets up in the morning, she can say something like, make my coffee, and it will happen for us automatically. So she loads the coffee the night before, and then in the morning while she's still laying in bed, she can simply tap on an icon on the screen of her iPhone, or she can speak to Siri and ask, make the coffee. And we can also set up automations. So during the week, she usually does it manually, as I described. But Sundays are very, very typical for us. We have a pretty standard routine on Sundays where we go to church. And so what we do there is we have an automation that will automatically make the coffee at a set time. And it will leave the coffee maker on for a specified period of time, a couple hours. And then when it's getting close to time for us to leave for church, it automatically turns the coffee maker off. Now, perhaps the best part of this is the fact that if we are not home, as is going to be the case, when we're on vacation here and so forth, we don't have to worry, because if the system does not detect any people in the home, then the coffee maker will never even turn on. So it is entirely based upon the location of the residents of the home, and as that is determined by your iPhone and your other Apple devices. And I apologize, you might be able to hear our little 10-pound terror barking in the background. I don't know what she saw outside, but I do have voice isolation on, so that should minimize it, and hopefully it'll stop here momentarily. But that's the coffee maker. So that's another very important part of our smart home is the smart plug. And we use that smart plug for the coffee maker. We use other smart plugs for other devices around the home as well, some of which I might talk about as we progress. So that's just the morning. That's just the first part of the routine for the day. Now, as the day progresses, there are a lot of other things that we use the connected digital life for. And one of them I'll talk about is TV streaming, because I usually like to watch a show while I'm eating breakfast and drinking my coffee. But I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to save that for a little bit later because it's an important part of our day in other ways too. So as I said, we may jump around a little bit. Let's talk about what happens when it's time to work. So I want to make it very clear that I run my entire business from an iPad. Now, I actually have a few iPads, but that's not because one's incapable of doing everything I want. It's because I use them in different ways, and sometimes I'm using them together, and I also am a beta tester. So I have a lot of devices, but my iPads are the devices on which I run my entire business. And so sometimes that means that I am doing podcasts. I record a lot of audio tutorials or product reviews or other things, and that involves audio editing. That sometimes involves guest speakers, guest interviews. It involves recording the audio and creating a professional podcast that meets the qualifications of Apple and Spotify and all the other, podcast companies out there, and even YouTube. And so that is all done on my iPad. Another aspect of my business is creating documents. Sometimes those are word processing or page layout, like instructional documents. Sometimes they're multimedia presentations, and sometimes they're spreadsheets. And so I very heavily use Apple's productivity apps, Pages, Keynote, and Numbers. And Pages, of course, is the word processing and page layout app. Keynote is one of my favorite apps to use. I don't use that every day in my business, but boy, when I do get an opportunity to use it, I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun, and it's fully accessible with VoiceOver. And then, of course, the Numbers app. If I'm creating invoices or customer feedback forms or other things, I use the spreadsheet app. And I've had to use that, quite a bit in my business. And it works flawlessly on the iPad, and it works great with VoiceOver. Some of the other aspects of things that I do in the business are running meetings just like this one. We have a lot of classes. We have a lot of free classes you might be interested in. I know some of you have already taken some of them. Maybe you'll take some again. We have a lot of paid one-on-one training services. We have help sessions each week. And for those, we typically use an app like Zoom. And we run our meetings that way. And so that's very, very easily done on an iPad or similar devices. Another thing that I typically do for the business is I've actually done some pretty extensive web design. And I actually work with my mom. She is my design partner for when we do website and ebook design. And we do all that on the iPad. And we have a platform that we use, and we can log in, and we can do everything from the fun stuff like designing what your logo looks like and what your web pages look like, to the more back end things like making sure your website is secure and making sure that you have your email accounts set up and everything with our web host. So we can do all of those kinds of things right from an iPad. Now, another aspect of things that I've had a few occasions to do is I've actually done some writing. I have a few books that I've written. The most notable one is I actually wrote a book on the subject of the Titanic, the sinking of the Titanic. And this book is live on Apple Books and on Amazon Kindle. Well, that entire book was written and submitted from an iPad. It is incredible that we can do all of these things, advanced digital book design, right on these devices that we can carry anywhere. And we can be outside on our back porch drinking lemonade while we're working. We can be at our desk. We can be in the recliner anywhere we want, but we can still be getting the same job done. Now, I told you we'd jump around a little bit, and I'm going to do that again now, because since I brought up Apple Books, as the place where you can get the Titanic book, I also want to talk about how I use Apple Books with my family. So, one of the things that I always enjoyed ever since I was a little kid was I loved having people read books to me. And then we would get audio books on cassette tape as I got older. And, now we can get all of these books digitally. We can get both digital books and audio books in the Apple Books app, and I can read them independently, But perhaps the best thing about using Apple Books is that I am able to read to my kids. And that is such a fantastic experience. And, it really amazes me that there are some people who think that it's detrimental if we're not using physical print books, and they say, well, it doesn't, it can't be as interactive if you're using digital books. Well, that's simply not true. It can be as interactive as you, the parent, choose to make it. And so when I'm reading with my kids, they're following along. They're looking at what I'm reading. We'll pause and we'll talk about the book. I can show pictures to them in the book. And if they don't know what a certain word means, we can actually tap on that word and we can look it up in the dictionary right as we're reading, or we can search for things on Wikipedia and Google, for example, right from within the Apple Books app. There are even some books that are called read aloud books. And my kids love those because we can sit down and we can listen to a spoken narration of the book along with music and sound effects, but the cursor is moving at the same time so that my kids can follow along with what's being spoken in the read aloud sort of digital audio book. That's a really neat combination. So Apple Books, very, very useful, very important. All right, there's a few other aspects of the day and of the connected digital life that we've talked about. We already talked about work, and we know that we can do just about anything. And obviously my line of work is technology oriented, but it doesn't matter. I have a colleague who actually, he and his wife ran a restaurant from their iPad and took payments and everything right from that device. We know that people, whether they're teachers, whether they are, some other form of educators, whether they're pastors, whether they are doctors and nurses, even airplane pilots can use these devices to their advantage and can access important resources, can create important documents. And of course, using the web can do all kinds of research and can do it in a way that is safe and secure and where privacy is of the utmost importance. So no matter what the career is, I think we've probably established pretty clearly that it's doable in the connected digital life from these devices. So now that we've talked about work, let's talk about fun. All right, let's take a few minutes and talk about some of the other kinds of things that we can do with our devices. Now, we mentioned TV streaming, and I want to go to that, and I want to talk a little more about the smart home also, because those were both very, very popular topics in our polls. Thanks again for taking that poll. And let's talk about TV streaming. I mentioned it briefly. We have the Apple TV, and in case you don't know, you probably do, but the Apple TV is not a TV at all. It's a set-top box. It's a TV streaming box that you connect to an existing television. And what this device does will just amaze you. And I don't even have time to cover every aspect of it tonight, but it has completely replaced, or it has allowed us, my family and me, to completely replace our traditional cable or satellite service with all streaming services that use the internet. And what we do is we use our Apple TV and we can watch pretty much anything we want anytime we want, because we subscribe to a number of streaming services. Now, some of them are on-demand streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Peacock, Discovery Plus, ESPN Plus, things of that nature. And so those allow us truly to watch anything we want whenever we want. I'm a big fan of watching cooking shows and home shows in the morning. So if I want to watch Love It or List It, or if I want to watch Pioneer Woman or something, I can select an episode and just continue right where I left off in an app like Discovery Plus or Food Network. I also really, really love to watch sitcoms like comedy shows. And so, if I want to watch Friends or Everybody Loves Raymond or The King of Queens, I can easily do that with an app like Peacock or HBO Max, or maybe we own some of these shows in our Apple collection, our iTunes library. And so we can watch them that way. All streamed. You're not storing the content. You don't have to worry about, using up tons of disk space. Everything is streamed from the cloud and accessible on all of your devices. So if we start watching TV in one room, we can easily pick it up in another, or we can take it on the road with us using iPad and iPhone. Now, in addition to that, we have a live TV streaming service. Our particular live TV streaming service of choice is DirecTV Stream. So a live TV streaming service is as close as you're going to get to a traditional cable feel, in that it has channel numbers, it has packages of channels. You can channel surf if you really want to. There's an online, there's an interactive guide on your screen. And of course, it all works with VoiceOver. But because it's a digital streaming service, you also get a lot of other benefits that you would not get with a traditional service. For example, unlimited DVR. That's right. We can record as much as we like and never have to worry about running out of recording space or recording conflicts or anything else. We also have unlimited streams, so we don't have to pay monthly fees for extra cable boxes. We can watch TV on as many devices in our home as we want to, and up to 3 devices concurrently when we are out of the home. This TV experience is one that is unique because it puts you first. It's not about the content, it's about the individual. And so we set up profiles. And so when I sit down at my Apple TV, the system knows that I like sitcoms and it recommends similar shows to me. And it puts the shows I'm already watching right at the front of the queue so I can immediately pick up where I left off. And if my wife sits down and selects her profile, the shows that she likes, and then all of the shows that my kids and my wife and myself watch together as a family show up, and we can easily watch whatever we want and continue right where we left off. This is an unparalleled experience that's saving us probably $40 to $50 a month over what maybe more over what we would be paying with a traditional provider. And it's entirely focused, as I said, on the individual person and the family and your likes and your personal taste. There's more flexibility and freedom, and you get to use the devices that you already know and love with familiar services like iCloud, Apple Music, iCloud Photos, and more. And as a VoiceOver user, I have a screen reader that I already know and trust that's been serving me for decades, really, and we know it just works. So that's a bit about the TV streaming. Now I'd like to turn to food. I said fun, right? Well, food's a big part of fun for me. And basically, I want to talk about 2 aspects of this. So I want to talk about traveling to get food, and I also want to talk about food delivery or groceries. So let's start talking about it from the perspective of what if we want to go out to eat to a restaurant. Now, this doesn't have to be a restaurant, okay? This could be a doctor's appointment. It could be a hotel. It could be a meeting somewhere. It doesn't matter. Anywhere you want to go, Apple Maps can help to get you there. Apple Maps offers turn-by-turn directions that we can be driving in our car. If our car supports Apple CarPlay, they actually will show up on the infotainment system. But even if they don't, we can get directions with stops along the way. If we want to stop at a gas station or wherever we might want to stop along the way. And we can actually, as VoiceOver users, we can hear on the screen how many feet it is until we need to turn. You can actually follow this. It will say to you 500 feet, 200 feet, 100, as you're approaching your next turn or your, whatever it may be that you need to do as you're driving along. That's turn-by-turn directions. But what about in those cases where we want to walk? Now, I will be honest with you, in full disclosure, I don't have a lot of experience with the walking directions, but I've used them a little bit with my family. And I can tell you that a couple of years ago, Apple overhauled its mapping system. And with the new maps, it is possible even for someone without sight to use the walking turn-by-turn directions, independently navigating where they want to go. Now, obviously, if you're not going to have a person with you, you would need to have either a dog or a cane, okay? It's not going to replace that. But assuming that you are comfortable with independent travel in one way or another, you can then use these turn-by-turn walking directions in Apple Maps, and you can get from point A to point B. And that has been confirmed for me by other non-sighted users who actually do it on a regular basis. And that works here in the United States. It works in Canada. And I think we're going to see more countries coming really soon. It was supposed to have been done by sometime in 2020. I think COVID kind of halted that for a while. But it seems like things are back up in very nearly full swing now, with Apple continuing to roll out mapping support in more countries. I actually believe there is a third or fourth country that's already been rolled out, but I don't want to give you inaccurate information, and I don't remember for sure which country it was. But, it is their plan to continue this as much as they can and expand these overhauled maps. For folks who can see, they make a big difference too, because you can actually see road work, and you can see buildings, and you can see lakes and things like that right on the screen. But for those of us who cannot see, it's supposed to be a huge improvement, allowing us to navigate independently. So if we're going to that restaurant, and by the way, maybe it's not just that we need directions. We started out by talking about food. Maybe we're looking for a good Mexican or Italian restaurant or something. And of course, Siri and our Apple Maps and the services that it integrates with can recommend those for us as well. But the other option that we have is food delivery. And this is a really big one nowadays, which probably I would suspect many of you are already familiar with. And that is delivery services like Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Postmates. This is so awesome because we can select the restaurant of our choice, and we can place our order, and we know that it's going to be delivered to us contact free if we want it. It can just be dropped off at the door even. And if not, we can have a more traditional delivery experience. But all of this can be done using an app, using VoiceOver. All of those apps are pretty accessible. Now, I will tell you, DoorDash is not perfect with VoiceOver, but it gets the job done. I do have sighted family, praise God, and sometimes I'll say, to my son or daughter, well, find this specific item. I know you want it, and I can't, get to it because the VoiceOver cursor's being a little finicky in this app. But then they'll do it. But once they've done it once, then it kind of shows up in your favorite items too, so you can easily find it next time. And so I've been able to many times place the orders myself as well. And we can use those apps. And let's talk also, we can also have our groceries delivered. So we can, the same concept there. But there's also great apps for keeping track of our grocery lists. And those are apps like AnyList or Bring. These apps allow us to keep a shared grocery list with our families, with our roommates, with whoever we might, share a shopping list with. And basically, when we do this, we actually have all of these lists in sync across all of the devices. So if I make a change to the list, everybody else in the family sees that change immediately. And when we go to the store, we can be using our phones, our watch, whatever device we have handy, and we can be checking off the items as we go. And these apps tend to have persistent inventories, which means that I don't have to worry about manually typing in each item. And best of all, we can use voice assistants. So we're going to come back to voice assistants in a moment because we need to talk more about the smart home anyway. But, nowadays, I would not even consider using a grocery list app if it didn't have smart speaker support. That is so important. And the AnyList app by Purple Cover supports all of your favorite smart assistants. It supports Siri, it supports Google Assistant, and it supports Alexa. And so whichever device you're closest to, you can speak to it. And you can say something like, add chicken nuggets to the grocery list.
All right. I've added it to your grocery list.
All right. And just because I've been taught to always be polite, thank you very much.
No problem.
So when I open the AnyList app, now it's going to bring that in there, and I'll see that chicken nuggets have been added to my grocery list. Now, these are just some of the things that we can do. I want to talk very quickly before we open it up to questions about two final things here. And one of them is a little more about fun. We're still on this fun category. We talked about TV. We talked about food. Recreation is a big part of things, and we want to be able to play with our kids. We want to be able to get exercise. We want to be able to do all of these things. And sometimes people have the mistaken impression that there's no way to sort of blend technology with those things, that, you know, if a person is quote unquote sitting on their devices all day, then they're not outside enjoying the great outdoors. And that simply does not have to be true. As an Apple Watch owner, I can put on my watch when I'm outside, when I'm doing laps in the pool, when I'm, you know, running around, whatever, I may be going for a walk, doing something like that. If you like to play sports, if you like to play tennis or basketball or baseball, any of these things, there are different workouts, different types of walks. There are yoga routines, and there's a whole lot more in the Apple Watch fitness app. And it has been announced by Apple that the fitness app is no longer even going to require the watch as of iOS 16, so that it's going to be available to even more people. If you have a phone and you've not pulled the trigger on getting an Apple Watch yet, that's okay, because there's enough sensors in the phone that it can keep track of your activity as well. It can keep track of your activity when you're awake. It can keep track of your sleeping patterns when you are asleep. It is really, truly incredible. And of course, there are a lot of other ways that we can use these devices while we're outside. We can identify plants and flowers. We can do all sorts of things outside with these devices. And by the way, if you are into a specific sport, then I would encourage you to check out the options for your specific sport. For example, smart golf clubs that can measure your golf swing. These things are real. I'm not making this up. Now, I don't have a brand or any personal experience to recommend to you in the golf swing category. I do enjoy mini golf, but I don't have a club myself. So you'd have to Google that, or TTJ can do it for you. That's a service we offer, you know, but basically these types of things do exist. There are smart, I think there are smart tennis rackets. I know there are actual balls that you can get. And when you want to hydrate, there are smart water bottles that keep reminding you to drink your water and letting you know how much you've already consumed. I mean, anything we can think of, any aspect of our lives, this technology can be part of it. I am also a preacher. I use the iPad when I'm preaching with my notes on it, and I use it for Bible reading. I use the Notes app all the time for all kinds of, you know, personal notes. We share notes lists with the family. When it comes time for Christmas and birthdays, the kids make their list and they share it with us as a family, and they always put nice photos and web links right in their list, so we know exactly what to get them and when and where to buy it. And speaking of buying, let's not forget about Apple Pay. Apple Pay is one of the easiest and most secure ways to make purchases, both online and in person, and to pay for it with our favorite card, whether it's the Apple Card, which is my personal favorite, your bank card, or any other credit card or form of payment. And it is amazing. When Apple Pay first launched, there were only a few like chain stores that accepted it. Now, Apple Pay is truly almost everywhere. And in our community, we're in sort of a small town, a bit of a rural town. So we do have some chains, but we also have a lot of individual kind of mom and pop small business locations. And so I often thought to myself, I wonder how long it will take for these small businesses to get Apple Pay support. The reality of it is it happened much quicker than I ever anticipated, because whenever the small business would upgrade its credit card machine to one that supported the chip cards, they automatically got Apple Pay support. So we can go into just about any store in our community. There are a few exceptions. There are a few exceptions in large cities too, but we can go into almost any location that we can think of, and we can use Apple Pay. It's secure. We don't have to mess with credit cards. It's a unique device identifier, so that if the store gets hacked, as we've seen in a few unfortunate cases over the years, they don't have your credit card information. It is easy. It's quick. In just a few seconds, you've paid for your purchases. And again, this works both in person with the iPhone and the Apple Watch, and online with any Apple device, iPhone, iPad, or even the Macintosh. And of course, Apple Pay extends to Apple TV with purchasing and renting of movies and shows and similar features and functions. All right. The last thing I'd like to do before we take questions is I'd like to return to the smart home, because I've only shared with you two things so far. Home entry, like through the garage door or the front door lock. Okay. And I shared with you the coffee maker and a little about smart plugs. I want to share with you some other smart devices that we have and how we can use them very quickly. So first off, let's talk about thermostats. We have a smart thermostat. It allows me to easily adjust the temperature, adjust the mode from heating to cooling, and it allows me to find out what the current indoor temperature is. And so whether I'm at home or I'm away from home, I can easily access this thermostat in the Apple Home app, in the Google Nest app, in the Honeywell Home app, because it's actually a Honeywell thermostat, or using a smart assistant like Siri or Google, for example. Another set of smart devices we've got a nice lighting system. Our particular lighting system is called the GoV lighting system. It's one of the less expensive lighting systems, but still does a fabulous job. It offers both white and color for the lights, so that you can easily make your lights red and green at Christmas time if you so choose, or any other color. And you can adjust the brightness, and you can have automatic changes for times of day. And of course, again, we can use our smart assistants with our voice, as well as using the apps to control our lights. Another big area with smart homes is security. Cameras, security systems, and doorbells. For the sake of time, I won't go into a tremendous amount of detail about any of these, except for the doorbell. My family and I own the Google Nest doorbell. Now, I'm an Apple person through and through, and that's, I'm certified as an Apple teacher. That's what I do, and Apple is my favorite company. So I'm automatically obliged to, have a hot and cold relationship with Google. But all kidding aside, when a company does something that I believe is done well, I've got to give credit where credit is due. And I am a really big fan of the Google Nest line of products. So in addition to HomePods and Echo devices, we have Google Nest hubs in our home. They're actually one of my favorite devices. The things that you can do, again, for the sake of time, I'll spare you all the details, but the things you can do with the Nest hub would just truly amaze you, from cooking in the kitchen to watching TV programs and a whole lot more. But with the Nest hub, we have the Nest doorbell. And the Nest doorbell, when someone pushes the button, it shows up on my phone, and I can easily open the app and talk to that person who's at the door, whether I'm at home or away. And it also rings the doorbell, one of a few different sounds that I can choose from, on my Nest hubs. And through a special little adapter, maybe adapter is the wrong word, but we'll use it for now. It also rings the doorbell on my HomePods and my Apple TV. So it shows on the TV who's at the door. Now, if I've identified the person, if it's somebody that I know, I can tell the Google Nest app who's at the door, so that the next time they come back to the door, it will actually tell me the name of who is there. And if I'm too busy to talk to the person, I can even play an automated reply through the Nest doorbell outside. Something like, leave the package, please. Or we can't come to the door right now. Something like this. So that is a bit about doorbells. We do have a security system. We have a smoke alarm. We have cameras. And another little device that I do have to give a shout out to, because it's really unique, is our smart toaster oven. This thing toasts, it bakes, it broils, it air fries, it dehydrates. It's a rotisserie. I think there's like 12 different functions there, and it works with an app. So I can easily control the entire experience with VoiceOver from the app. It notifies me on my phone when the food is ready. I can also preheat and start the oven from the app, although that does require you to actually walk up to the oven and push a button to confirm that it's really what you want to do as a security measure, so you don't have a hot oven running when you didn't intend to. And I can even use my voice. Again, Google and Alexa will do this. They have sort of limited functionality for the oven with your voice, but it does do the basics. And then for everything else, there's the app. We've got smart humidifiers. We've got, I mean, the list just goes on and on, even to our home phone service, which is known as UMA, OOMA, which allows us to not only use all the calling features you'd ever want at your home, but it also allows us to remotely make and receive calls from the home phone using our iPhone. And we can check our voicemail. We can get our voicemail as an email with an audio file attached. And I even have a second line for the business. And again, it will automatically call my iPhone at the same time as it rings the business line. And so it is just a beautiful system. And it's all part of what I like to consider the connected digital life. Now, I'm sure there are things that I'm forgetting. I'm sure there are devices that I'm forgetting. I'm sure there are entire concepts that I'm forgetting to tell you about. But what I'd really love to do is to let your questions sort of drive the remaining few minutes that we have together this evening and see if I can do the best I can to answer them. I would love to ask you to please do me a favor and keep your questions on topic. If there's something that's not working for you that you want to know how to do, I'm more than happy to help you. We offer free help sessions for that every week. And I also offer, one-on-one support and training. But I'm going to give you the contact information before we close tonight so you can get in touch with me for that later. For tonight, let's keep the questions on topic and let's see what you want to know.
Thank you, Matt. This is Elsa. That was chock full of information, your presentation, a lot to digest. So I'm sure everyone will appreciate going back and listening to this presentation again, as I will, because I'm sure a few things went by me. I think the only thing we still need Apple to do is actually bring our coffee to us in the morning and we'll be all set.
We'll have to leave that on their feedback website.
I like mine with a little bit of cream.
You too.
All right. Let's start with Aaron, who had the first hand up tonight.
Wow, you are really invested in the Apple ecosystem. Like I wish I had that in my personal life.
Things wrong.
Like not everyone I know is invested in the Apple ecosystems. So how do you deal with that? Like for example, I like when someone has Android and you have iPhone, you want to communicate with them. Like, does that bother you?
Does it bother me? Well, I'll joke with you and say, yes, absolutely. It bothers me. I am an Apple person, so I don't really do a lot of Android support. But what I can tell you is that a lot of these devices are cross-platform. And if you know that you are going to be working in that environment, like I mentioned early on, we have all three smart assistants in our home. We have HomePods, which are, Siri enabled. We have Google Nest devices and we have Amazon devices. And so the important thing to do is to pick what you are most invested in and, try to pick smart home. If you're talking specifically about smart home or about apps, to pick the ones that will serve you the best. So for me, Apple is always the first priority. But when I can, I also try to pick ones that are going to work with all of them. So I mentioned to you a few minutes ago a grocery list app that my family and I use called AnyList. The reason I picked that app is because, yes, it has great Siri support, but also it works with all of the other platforms as well. And so if I want, if I happen to be nearest to a Google Nest Hub at that moment, and I want to use that to add an item to my grocery list or an Echo Show or something, I can do that without having to worry about, it doesn't work with this device. So that's the exact reason that I picked that app. And a lot of our smart home products are that way, that they will work with everything. There is a little, I was starting to make reference to it. There's a little thing called a Starling, not to be confused with Starlink, which is the satellite service, but Starling Home Hub, and that makes Nest devices work with Apple's HomeKit platform. And so what we've done is we've connected that Starlink so that now even my Nest doorbell, works with our Apple products and with Siri and so forth. So it makes it even easier. And there is a big push coming up, a new industry standard called Matter. And Matter is an open source, I believe, smart home platform or protocol. And all of the major players here, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they're all supporting Matter. And so what this is going to mean, Aaron, is that as time progresses, I can't tell you how quickly, but I'd say within the next couple of years, you're going to see more and more devices that are fully compatible with all of the platforms, that we don't have to worry about which platform a person is using because of Matter. So hopefully that answered your question, and thanks so much.
Yeah, that definitely did. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Christina. Please unmute yourself, Christina. All right, let's take Matt's question and then we can circle back to you, Christina. Matt, can you unmute yourself?
No, sorry, I couldn't find it on mute.
No
I was
problem.
gonna say the GPS is great on the phone because as it was passing the building, they would say like 102 Park Street. And I faced the phone on cross street, it would say Union Place. Because we had Apps Club, and I was trying it out. You know what? You don't know my town. I tried it going to the food store, and going from the food store back to my home. It worked great.
Yes, it really does. And thank you for sharing that. That's a great confirmation for people to validate what we've said there. Thank you very much.
As you face your phone, you hold a flat, and you turn left or right, it would say the cross streets and a number of the buildings.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Matt. Lori.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for
Hi.
this evening. I attend some
Absolutely.
of your classes. You just said about the toaster oven. Could you say what brand and model and some of those features again?
Yes. So the brand of the toaster oven is called Cosori. It's COSORI. And you can find it on Amazon if you just search for Cosori Smart Oven. And I'm also going to open my phone up here for a second because there's an app that you need. And then I'll tell you what I did. The app, I just don't want to misspell it for you. It's VSync, but it's spelled, okay, it's VE. So V as in Victor, E as in Echo, F Sam, Y NC, VSync. That's the name of the app. And the toaster oven is Cosori. What I did was one of my colleagues told me that she had gotten that oven for Christmas and she used it with her Amazon Echoes. Well, I really wanted to be able to use it with my Google system because even though I have Amazon, I just like Google a little bit. And so I went and started watching reviews and I saw that somebody had a problem setting it up with Google. And that was a few years ago. So I thought it's probably fixed by now, but boy, I don't want to chance it. I better try to set up the account with Google first so that, I don't buy something I am not going to be able to use. So I downloaded the VSync app from the App Store. And of course, they had fixed the problem. I mean, praise God, it was super simple. I got signed in right away and connected to Google. But what it then did was it actually gave me a discount because I downloaded the app first and got like a 20% discount or something on the smart oven. And I bought it right through the app instead of buying it on Amazon. Yes. So, but Cosori smart oven, I think there's a couple different sizes. And then, the VSync app is the app that works with it.
But you said with Google and Amazon, but not with Apple then.
Yeah, so the app works with Apple devices, but there's not really a Siri integration, but it does have the Google and the Alexa. But honestly, 99% of the time I do it from the app anyway, because you have a lot more choices. You can customize the temperature and whether or not you preheat and what the fan mode is and all these different things. And so, the app is very, very accessible. You open it up and it's very easy to use. So that's how I do it typically.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Sure thing.
Lori.
Thank you.
Christina, I believe you are here and unmuted now. Oh, Christina. There you go.
Oh, come on.
We can hear you.
Okay. What happens is that when you're recording the meeting and if you're already recording it, It doesn't let you unmute. Hi, Matt. It's
Hi.
Christina. Wonderful. I have two questions. My first one is when you were talking about the DirecTV app that you're using for your cable service, do you have to have a satellite on in order to get that service?
Absolutely not. You do not have to have any satellite or anything like that. All you've got to have is an internet connection. There are two kinds of DirecTV services, both owned by the same company. There's just plain DirecTV, which does require a satellite, and then the one with the word stream after it, DirecTV Stream, which literally you could install create the account and purchase the subscription, and then you can download the app and start watching immediately on your devices. They do offer a device that called the DirecTV Stream device if you don't have any devices for your television, but of course, we prefer to use our Apple TV with the television and the DirecTV Stream app.
Yeah, which I do have the Apple TV because I just want to get away from cable. It's horrible.
Absolutely.
The other question I have is that I have the Ring doorbell, and my problem with the Ring doorbell, and I want to know if you have this issue with the Google Nest doorbell, the battery life is horrible, and it loses charge, and you have to take it off to take the battery off. You have to take the whole doorbell off to take the battery and then put the doorbell back on. Is that like that with the Google Nest?
So the Nest, just like the Ring, does offer a battery version and a wired version. The wireless version, the battery lasts probably about, I'm going to say, between 6 and 8 weeks. And it does have to be removed in order to, there is a part of it that you have to remove in order to charge it. Usually my wife does that and does it, pretty easily. As I said, both Ring and Nest offer wired versions if you preferred to go that route, if that was an option for you. But no, you're going to find that, in both cases. And the reason that I selected the Nest over the Ring was because there were a few other issues that I had with the Ring. For example, the app was not perfectly accessible. A couple little issues with accessibility in the app.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also sort of frustrated that Ring had originally announced HomeKit support and then sort of backtracked on that. And so, I got away from it. Now the Nest still has, I still have a battery operated version, but the app is fully accessible. It does work with HomeKit with that third-party Starling Home Hub, and it really has some extra features that at least I didn't have. Maybe the higher, like the Ring 3 or the Ring Pro have them, and I just don't know. But, I never had with my Ring, like the person detection with the announcement of who's at the door and the ability to talk or rather send automated responses.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine didn't have that either.
Right. So I figured, I'm still dealing with the battery thing, but all the other things made it worth it.
Because I tried to do the wiring to wire it here. I'm renting, but it wasn't working because we thought if we wired the Ring that then I wouldn't have to worry about the battery life, but it didn't work in my case. And I don't know if it'd be different with the wiring with the Google Nest. But
yeah, that can be a tough thing. And really, almost like a professional electrician has to come in and even then sometimes that, I'm sitting here with my parents who have had a couple of pretty bad experiences with that. I mean, nothing that jeopardized their safety or anything, but it just, one doorbell was actually fried by the installer, and then it had to be replaced. And then another one stopped working after, but so it's personal preference. And of course, since you are renting, they may be more finicky about what you're allowed to do anyway. So yeah, but I like that Nest for those other reasons. You'd still have the battery, but it does do a nice job.
When I had it, when it did work, it was great because when you don't know who's there and you could just talk to them.
Oh, exactly. Yep.
So, thank you. Wonderful presentation as always, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions? I am surprised. You sure?
Elsa, do you mind if I give them my contact info? Maybe there'll be another question after I do then, but that way they can get a
Please
hold of
do that. Yes. And I'm going to record it as well, and we'll email it out to everyone.
Great, great. Okay, so if you have any interest in any of this and you want to learn more about it, learn what products to get, or if you want to take even some of our free classes, we teach on VoiceOver and on the iPad and a lot of other subjects. And of course, we also have paid one-on-one training for those who want a more personalized experience. All of this, the starting place is our website. Now, that website is www.ttjtech.net. So that's TT, like Tango, Tango, and then J as in Juliet, followed by the word tech, TECH.net, ttjtech.net. Now, as you scroll down that page, there is a heading that says stay in the know. And what it is it allows you to send a blank email. It's got the link right there, so I don't have to make you memorize or write down the email address. You just click this link and it's going to open up your email client. You'll send a blank email. You don't have to type anything in the subject, anything in the body, but you send this blank email and it's going to subscribe you to our TTJ newsletter. It's actually a mailing list serve, but we only use it in one way. And that's for the newsletter purposes. And so, it's not very high traffic. We don't send out a bunch of stuff, just, every now and then when we're announcing something or what have you. That's the best way to keep sort of in the loop as to what we're doing. We also have a YouTube channel where we are constantly putting product reviews and free classes, tutorials, all sorts of things on that YouTube page. And if you have specific questions and want to talk to us, you can send email to info@ttjtech.net, info@ttjtech.net.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions? Christina.
Matt, I know this is a question. There's no smart Keurig machine, right, yet?
Smart Keurig, no. They really haven't seemed to get too deeply into that, and nor is it really the way to go if you want to do even the smart plug, because with a smart plug, you have to have a very basic on-off. You can't have something that's... So, we did have a Keurig before, and it's now been replaced by this. It's just like a Hamilton Beach coffee maker. I don't know. It was like $13 or something, and then the smart plug. Yes. So that's about the best thing I can tell you there.
So now I want to go out and buy everything, like the oven, the smart toaster oven. And...
There's a lot of great stuff there. That's for sure. If it comes down to, feeling like you have to make some choices financially or whatever, definitely stay tuned or give me a call. And we always release a holiday gift guide every November before Thanksgiving and Black Friday, because there's always, of course, good sales, that time of year. But actually right now you're approaching some pretty good times too, because Memorial Day through like July 4th, there are often good sales at places like Best Buy. And of course there's Prime Day. So
what
you might
Prime Day this year?
That's a great question.
It's in July.
Is it July?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't. I've gotten some good
July
things for
12th.
Prime Day.
Is it July 12th?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Matt, where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania, so not too far from you. Kind of neighbors, I guess.
Yeah, where in Pennsylvania?
We're kind of in central Pennsylvania, kind of right halfway between Pittsburgh and Harrisburg.
Not too far from Somerset.
Not too far at all. Nope.
All right. If there's no more questions, at this time we'd like to post our exit poll, so to speak, a non-political exit poll. I will read
I love the poll. That's a great idea.
Did you learn what you were hoping to learn from this presentation? Yes or no? Please choose one answer. I'm going to launch it as we wrap up, and feel free to answer it. If remember, you do need to be logged into the computer or on an iPhone or iPad or other device using the Zoom app to access the questionnaire. And don't worry if you are not able to access it or complete it. Any information you offer is very helpful to us. So we would like to thank you, Matt Vollbrecht, for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us. We're very grateful for you joining us tonight. You are a wealth of knowledge, as everyone can see. And please, for more information, visit his website, www.ttjtech.net. We will send that out in an email as well, along with Matt's other contact information details that he had shared.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to be with you guys. Thank you again.
Oh, we're very grateful.
Thank you, Matt.
Please remember, everyone, to join our VLANJ Tech Talks Facebook page, as well as join our Vision Loss Alliance of New Jersey YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our channel as well as Tech Talk Juggernaut. It's great for us to see what kind of traffic is coming and visiting our programs that we're offering. So we would really appreciate that. We will also be sending out a survey to you to get your feedback on this program and all of our other programs. Your feedback is crucial to us as we continue to report to our funders and secure future funding as well for our speaker series that we offer. VLANJ Tech Talks has been provided to you through the generosity of grant funding from the Community Health Foundation at Atlantic Health. So yes.
Didn't know that.
Yep, we just received funding from them for the next year, so we're very excited.
Nice.
Matt, just to share with you from our poll that we have an 100% response, that 8 out of 8 people who responded felt that they learned what they were hoping to learn from the presentation.
That's awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. Thanks for the encouragement. It doesn't get better than that.
Matt, I have a quick question. Any future Tech Talks this summer? Not Tech Talks, I mean trainings this summer?
So we have this summer, we are doing what we call digital cafes. They're little mini courses. They will be posted to YouTube. We've done one so far actually on the subject of cord cutting with Apple TV. And then there are a couple coming up, one for audio editing with GarageBand, one for Apple Pages. There's a few others, and each one of them gets posted to YouTube. And then we also have a live Q&A session in Zoom. So the best way you can find them is to stay subscribed to that newsletter that I mentioned.
Okay.
And also, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe to our channel, because then you'll
Is
be
that
notified.
the same Tech Juggernaut? Is that how we find it on YouTube?
Yeah, but it's if you search the Tech Juggernaut on YouTube, you will find it. If not, I don't think the channel ID that. What I can do is I can quickly, if you can stay tuned for about 1 minute, I can put the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If you can just hang tight for 1 or 2 minutes, I'll do that real quick.
Yeah, take your time, and I will copy it and paste it into the email for everyone else.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Just to let everybody know, we are taking a break from Tech Talks for the summer. We will be resuming on Wednesday, September 28th for our next edition of Tech Talks this fall. We do have a guest speaker tentatively lined up who has approached us actually to come back and present again, and would like to discuss about iOS 16 and all of the features that are going to be available on it. And that will be launching around that same time. So that'll be a very timely topic in September.
Hopefully I get my iPhone by the time, because
Well,
I won't be able to experience it.
There's good motivation for you to work towards that, Aaron. Absolutely. For those of you who want to stay on for Matt's posting, please feel free to do. For the rest of you, we look forward to seeing you in September.
See you. Say one tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Matt.
Matt. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone. Have a good summer.
Bye, Olga. You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Susan. Oh, there. There's the post. So I'm going to copy it for everyone and I will put
See
it
if
in
I
an
can
email.
copy it in the chat and see. Don't you have to like tab over, I think?
I did a copy paste.
Oh, I'll have
on
to go
it.
in the chat.
Yeah, so I'm gonna save it for a future email to everyone to send out, okay?
Perfect. I'm gonna see if
you,
I can
Matt.
get down to it.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Bless you and take care.
Aw. Take care, everyone. Stay well and have a good
Bye-bye.
evening and a great
Bye,
summer.
Matt.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.